I don't have any slides, so don't bother looking up there. I want to talk a little bit about what it is. I just drank that. I hope it's safe. Guy was fiddling with it a lot. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's from Swire. I don't really I can't read the label. What I wanted to talk about really today is this. First, I'm from HAVI. Some of you out there may know what it is we do. We're the world's biggest logistics service provider for McDonald's. In Asia, we're the world's biggest logistics service provider for Subway and a number of supermarket chains and quick service restaurants. We did the food for the athletes and the international broadcast staff for the Beijing Olympics. We just did the Sochi Olympics. We've done the East Asian Games, the Asian Games. So the work we do is all about food safety. In the past several years, maybe the past 5 years, we've been on a journey from being a logistics company, and some of you out there know us as HAVI Logistics, but from a logistics company to a supply chain solutions company. Moved from just focusing on last mile delivery, logistics, warehousing, trucking, to end-to-end solutions in the supply chain. And that's going to be relevant once I get into safety-related issues. My talk is going to be very simple. I really just want to open people's minds. That's why I wore this shirt today. Open your minds. I want to really focus, as I could talk about a lot of boring statistics. I could tell you that only about 80% of the food in China is actually perishable food in China. Temperature controlled conditions. In the seafood industry, it's actually a lower percentage, but I believe that the 15 to 18 actually transported temperature controlled conditions is Jeff's product. Is that the problem with the microphone? Is it, okay, cool. I could give you those statistics, but I don't want to talk about that stuff really. I mean, I think everybody in this room knows that the cold chain and market like China is underdeveloped, and the amount of investment is way less than it. But if we focused on hardware alone, if we focused on trucks and warehouses, infrastructure alone, we'd be missing the point of building the future chain, right? And I want to focus on three things that I think could have a huge impact on the future food chain. The first of those things really is the concept that Guy just talked about. The first battle that you have to win in putting together quality-focused culture and a concern about food safety is the people who work for you. Whether they're working for Swire, or they're working for McDonald's, or they're working for HAVI, or they're working for any of you have to develop a culture where people really do care about the quality of the product, right? You have to, people will say, yes, this is something my children eat. This is something my family eats. This is something that I care about the consumers who are going into the marketplace and buying this food, right? That's the first step in really getting people focused on the right kind of processes and procedures. And I think then the next thing, I'm just retreading the grounds broken by our first two speakers. The next thing really is traceability. It really is to end-to-end traceability, and it's something that becomes increasingly important. And I believe that if we look today in China at only the hardware required for getting the proper temperature on trucks and getting the proper temperature in warehouses, certainly that's work that has to be done. But we'll be missing the point of the importance of the software, the people and the systems required to actually trace product and make sure we have the proper attitudes, and that the safety of the food chain is not compromised by corruption or by excessive profits or by people not caring, people just going through the motions of doing their job. So that would be the second key area, that traceability aspect. Traceability is not just some of the stuff we've seen today. Traceability means the absolute control end to end. We talk about farm to fork, but it goes even beyond that. The third area would be an area that I don't think many of you think of, and that is network and network optimization. When I talk about network optimization, I'm talking about the ability to actually design supply chain, right? The ability to actually put in place the proper handling, the proper temperature controls, the proper facilities, the proper transportation, the proper nodes and modes of actually getting product from one place, or even getting the raw components of the product from one place, eventually to a consumer. And designing that network end to end is really going to be the future for us. If you think about the fact that China is the fastest growing market for people buying product online, then you think about the food portion of that product that's bought online. Will that increase? It's a scary thought, guys. Scary thought. I could tell you this morning, I was dragged out of a conference call to look at a pair of designer shorts. And I was led to look at this picture of designer shorts online that were being sold for 280 RMB. I was being forced to look at this by someone who just paid 2,000 Hong Kong dollars for the same pair of designer shorts. So the question was, are those shorts real or are they fake? Well, frankly, I don't care about that. But I do care about whether product that's being sold to consumers, you being consumers as well, I do care about whether that product is fake. And I think the idea of China becoming the greatest market, the greatest online market in the world for food, scary thought, unless somehow we get the network, the entire network, end control, both in terms of traceability, but also in terms of management, in terms of the software, the people required to actually get that under control, the attitudes required to get that under control. Unless we do that, then that's a scary prospect. But it is going to happen. It is going to happen. I talk to my European friends and my Chinese friends, and we laugh a lot about the fact there's someone from Ireland too, right? So Ireland was slammed about this idea of selling horse meat for beef. Now everybody who's ever visited Ireland knows we've got a much better purpose for horses in Ireland than turning them into meat. Racehorses, right? But the reality is this: in the middle of that whole scandal that took place, the Chinese beat everybody, because the Chinese were actually able to turn rat meat into high-priced mutton. So it's an incredible thing. It's amazing, and it wasn't minced. It was actually, we were actually putting it into into hot pots. It's even more amazing. So the idea of moving forward into a new world where food is being purchased, whether it's finished product or cooked food or anything online, without putting in place the traceability and the software, the people, the attitudes that are required, that's just scary to me. And the final area that I want to hit on is probably the easiest one to deal with. You might not think it's the easiest one. We live in Hong Kong, so we know it can be done. And that's the regulatory environment. So unless you encourage people to actually follow the right rules and put in place temperature controls and do the checking and put in place traceability and fine people mercilessly for not following the rules, regardless if they're a state-run enterprise, a provincial-run enterprise, a local government-run enterprise, or by somebody who just took you to karaoke a few nights ago, right? Unless you can rigorously create an environment that actually makes it important for people to invest in the hardware and the software, that makes it important that makes it not a competitive disadvantage, to care about the quality of food, and care about the traceability of food, and care about the temperature and the controls that are in place for food. Until we get to the point where in China it's no longer a competitive disadvantage to do those things, we won't get those things in place. Now, personally, I think that's the easiest of all those issues to fix, right? But I have to tell you that in the run-up to the Beijing Olympics, I worked my ass off, local government trying to put in place all sorts of regulations. I went to Iraq and Afghanistan to look at, the safety and security of food. I mean, I did all kinds of things, and we all hoped that after the Olympics in China, things would change, right? But things didn't change enough, I would say if we're really going to move to building future food chain, those are the areas that we have to look at. We have to create a much more robust regulatory environment that really is uncorruptible and doesn't care, facility, whose store, whose freezer we're looking at. We have to develop a culture where people really do care about the quality of the food that they're producing. We have to create a network that end-to-end has this stuff under control, and we have to put the traceability in place. My simple presentation. I look forward to your questions later on. And I'm taking this water with me. I think it's perfectly safe.